The emergency sirens wailed through the halls of the Galactic Council building on Archon 7, their piercing sound cutting through the panicked voices of dozens of alien species. Thalos pressed his scaled hands against the holographic display, watching helplessly as another colony world vanished from the network. 3 million souls gone in an instant, consumed by the Devourers. "We cannot hold them," Commander Velnes said, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly in distress. "Their numbers are endless. Every defense we mount they overwhelm, every strategy we employ they adapt." Around the circular chamber, representatives from 40 different worlds argued in a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and translated speech. Some demanded retreat to the core systems, others called for surrender negotiations. A few simply wept for their lost colonies. Thalos felt the weight of leadership crushing down on his shoulders. As council leader, he had guided his people through trade disputes and territorial disagreements, but never war, never genocide. The Devourers did not negotiate. They did not take prisoners. They simply consumed everything in their path and moved on to the next world. "Perhaps we should consult the archives," a quiet voice suggested. Thalos turned to see Rilna, a young archivist whose amphibian features were tinged with an unusual determination. She held a data tablet, her webbed fingers scrolling through ancient texts. "The archives," Velnes scoffed. "What good are old stories when we face extinction?" "Not stories," Rilna insisted. "Records, warnings from civilizations that came before us." She projected an image onto the central display. "There are references here to a species called Terrans, humans from a world they called Earth." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some council members nodded in vague recognition. Others dismissed it with waves of tentacles and appendages. "Fairy tales," someone called out. "Legends to scare hatchlings." But Rilna continued, her voice growing stronger. "The records describe them as warriors from a death world, a planet so hostile that survival itself was a battle. They fought wars among themselves for thousands of cycles, developing weapons and tactics we cannot imagine. When the Devourers attacked one of their colonies 800 cycles ago, the humans responded with such ferocity that the entire Devourer fleet fled beyond known space. If they were so powerful, where are they now?" Velnes demanded. Thalos studied the fragmentary records, coordinates to a system called Sol, locked away in a quarantine zone marked with radiation warnings and gravitational hazards. No contact for 500 cycles. The region was considered cursed, avoided by all sensible spacefaring species. "They are probably extinct," Velnes said. "Or they never existed at all. We waste time chasing myths while our people die." But something in the records caught Thalos's attention. The descriptions of human warfare were too detailed to be fiction, the tactical analyses too sophisticated. And there, buried in the warnings, a single phrase repeated in multiple languages. "Never again provoke the Terrans." "Send a probe," Thalos ordered. The chamber fell silent. Every eye, stalk, and optical sensor turned toward him. "Council leader, the quarantine zone," Velnes began. "Send a probe to these coordinates," Thalos repeated firmly. "If humans exist, they are our only hope. If they do not, we have lost nothing but a probe. We are dying either way." The vote was close, but desperation won over skepticism. A stealth probe launched within the hour, its trajectory set for the Forbidden Sol system. Thalos watched it disappear into faster-than-light travel, carrying with it a simple message, a plea for help against an enemy that threatened all life. 3 days passed. The Devourers advanced, now only 2 systems away from Archon 7. Civilian transports fled in every direction. Military vessels prepared for a final stand they knew they could not win. Council members made peace with their gods and prepared for the end. Thalos spent those days in the archives with Rilna, reading every scrap of information about the mythical humans. They learned of a species that had survived ice ages and asteroid impacts, that had split the atom and walked on their own moon, that had fought terrible wars and somehow found peace with themselves. "They sound dangerous," Rilna whispered. "Yes," Thalos agreed, But perhaps that is what we need. On the third day, the probe returned, or rather it was returned, escorted by unknown vessels that appeared on the edge of the system like ghosts materializing from the void. The sensor readings made no sense. Energy signatures beyond anything in the galactic database. Armor plating that registered as denser than neutron star material. Weapons that seemed designed to crack planets. The communication came in a language the computers struggled to translate, harsh and direct, with none of the flowery diplomatic phrases the galactic species preferred. Unknown vessels, this is the United Earth colonial ship Defiant. We received your distress call. Our analysts have reviewed the threat assessment you provided. We are prepared to render assistance. Please transmit tactical data and current enemy positions. Thalos felt his legs weaken. Around him, the council chamber erupted in chaos. Some species cheered, others fled in terror. Velnes simply stared at the viewscreen, all four eyes wide with shock. "Respond," Thalos ordered, his voice barely above a whisper. "Tell them we accept their help. Tell them the Devourers will arrive within hours. Tell them," he paused, searching for the right words. "Tell them we are grateful they are not myths." The human response was immediate and utterly without ceremony. "Understood, Defiant and Battle Group assuming defensive positions around Archon 7. Enemy contact expected in 4 hours. Recommend you evacuate non-combatants and prepare medical facilities. We anticipate significant hostile casualties." Defiant out. Thalos watched as 12 human warships took up positions around his world, their angular hulls bristling with weapons whose purpose he could only guess at. The myths were real. The legends had returned, and the Devourers were about to learn why an entire civilization had once warned against provoking humanity. History was about to repeat itself, and this time the galaxy would bear witness. Admiral Rachel Foster had commanded warships for 20 years, but she had never seen fear quite like what greeted her in the Galactic Council chamber. The aliens stood in rigid clusters, their various appendages twitching with nervous energy as her delegation entered. She recognized the body language across species. These were people who expected monsters, not allies. "Thank you for coming," the reptilian leader said, his translator rendering his words in clipped English. "I am Thalos, Council Leader of the Galactic Alliance. We are grateful for your response, though I confess we did not truly believe you would come." Foster offered a crisp nod. "We received your distress call. We came. That is what civilized species do for each other." She gestured to her officers. "This is Commander Hughes, Tactical Analysis, Captain Akoi Fleet. Operations, Lieutenant Commander Chen, Engineering, and Dr. Walsh, Xenobiology." The introduction seemed to unsettle them further. Foster noted how they flinched when her officers moved, how they tracked every gesture with prey animal wariness. Their own military commanders wore elaborate uniforms decorated with honors and lineage markers. Her people wore functional armor with unit patches and rank insignia, nothing more. "Perhaps we should review the tactical situation," Hughes suggested, pulling up holographic displays. "We have analyzed the data you provided on these Devourers: insectoid hive mind, rapid reproduction, geometric expansion pattern, standard plague organism behavior." "Standard," Velnes, the four-eyed commander, sputtered. "They have destroyed 17 colonies in 6 weeks." Hughes's expression did not change. "We have encountered similar threats, biological, technological, and hybrid variants. The key is disrupting their command structure while eliminating reproduction capability. Your defensive strategy has been purely reactive, which allows them to maintain initiative." Foster watched the alien commanders bristle at the criticism, but she let Hughes continue. Her tactical officer had a gift for identifying weaknesses, even if his delivery lacked diplomatic polish. "Here, here, and here," Hughes pointed to 3 locations on the star map. "Logistics hubs, the Devourers are overextended. They are pushing forward faster than their supply lines can support. We hit these simultaneously, their advance collapses." "Impossible," Velnes declared. Those positions are deep in enemy territory. We would be surrounded, outnumbered 50-1. Yes, Hughes agreed, which is why we will move fast, hit hard, and withdraw before they can coordinate a response. Speed and violence of action. Thalos leaned forward. How many ships do you need for this operation? We brought 12, Foster said. That will be sufficient for the strike force. We would appreciate if your fleet could maintain defensive positions here and provide search and rescue capability for any disabled vessels. The silence that followed was profound. Foster could see them processing the implications. 12 ships against thousands. They thought humans were either insane or suicidal. They did not yet understand that humanity had spent 10,000 years learning to fight outnumbered. A young amphibian, Rilna, if Foster remembered correctly, spoke up. Admiral, may I ask about Earth? The records describe it as a death world, but surely that is exaggeration. Foster smiled, though she knew the expression might not translate well. Dr. Walsh, show them home. The xenobiologist projected images that made the aliens recoil. Hurricanes that could flatten cities. Volcanic eruptions that blotted out the sun. Predators with claws and fangs and venom. Diseases that had killed billions before humans developed medicine. Earthquakes that reshaped continents. You evolved in that, someone whispered. We did, Foster confirmed. It taught us to adapt, to overcome, to never surrender. Every human carries the genetic memory of ancestors who survived when survival seemed impossible. That is why we are good at war. We have been fighting for our existence since before we had language. But you are so aggressive, Velny said. Your weapons, your tactics, you speak of acceptable casualties and collateral damage. Do you not value life? Foster's expression hardened. We value life more than you can imagine, Commander. We know exactly what it costs. That is why we are willing to pay the price to protect it. Every human who dies in this operation will be mourned. We will know their names, their families, their dreams, but we will still fight because the alternative is watching billions die while we did nothing. Chen stepped forward. With your permission, we would like to share some of our defensive technology, shield harmonics, point defense algorithms. It might help your ship survive what is coming. You would share your technology? Thalos asked, surprise evident even through the translator. We are allies now, Foster said simply. Allies help each other. Besides, better ships mean fewer casualties. That serves everyone. The next hours were a blur of planning and preparation. Human and alien crews worked together, the initial fear giving way to cautious cooperation. Foster watched a human technician teach an alien engineer how to recalibrate shield emitters, both of them communicating through gestures and shared mathematics when the translators failed. On the view screen, enemy scout ships probed the system defenses. The Devourers were coming, confident in their numerical superiority. They had never encountered humans before. They did not know what it meant when 12 warships positioned themselves between predator and its prey. All ships report ready, Okoye announced. Crews at battle stations, weapons hot, drives charged. Foster stood, straightening her uniform. Across the chamber, Thalos watched her with an expression she recognized. Hope mixed with terror. He had gambled everything on a myth, and now he would learn if the stories were true. Thalos, get your people to shelters, Foster said. This is going to get loud. She returned to the Defiant, feeling the familiar hum of a warship ready for battle. Her crew moved with practiced efficiency, each person knowing their role without need for orders. This was what humans did. This was what 10,000 years of warfare had created, not monsters but guardians, not conquerors but protectors. The Devourers entered weapons range, thousands of contacts flooding the sensors. Any sane species would run. But humans had stopped being sane the day they decided to stand upright on a world that wanted them dead. All ships, Foster commanded. Weapons free, show them why Earth breeds survivors. The void erupted in fire. The first railgun salvo crossed the distance between the human fleet and the Devourer swarm in 3 seconds. Hypersonic tungsten penetrators struck with the force of orbital strikes. punching through shields that had withstood galactic weapons for weeks. 5 enemy vessels simply ceased to exist, vaporized by impacts that released energy measured in megatons. Thalos watched from the command center as the human warships moved. They did not maneuver like galactic vessels, which followed predictable arcs and formations. The human ships moved like predators, constantly adjusting position, never staying still, making themselves impossible to target effectively. Impossible, Velnys breathed. Their acceleration should crush their crews. Inertial dampening, Rilna explained, her eyes never leaving the tactical display. But more advanced than ours, they can pull maneuvers that would turn us into paste. The Defiant led the formation, Admiral Foster's flagship glowing with the heat of constant weapons discharge. Missiles launched in coordinated swarms, each wave following a different attack vector, forcing the Devourers to split their point defense. Plasma cannons carved burning lines through the void, bisecting enemy vessels with surgical precision. Enemy forces concentrating on human left flank, Hughes reported over the open channel. Attempting to overwhelm the destroyer Vigilant. Akoi, take the Resolute and Guardian to assist, Foster ordered. Chen, redirect shield power from Defiant to cover their approach. 2 human cruisers broke formation, their shields flaring as they absorbed fire meant for the damaged destroyer. The maneuver violated every tactical doctrine the galactic military taught. You never weakened your flagship. You never broke formation to save a single vessel. But the humans did not hesitate. The Vigilant limped behind the covering fire of its larger companions, its crew already evacuating to escape pods. The humans recovered every pod, even as the battle raged around them. Not a single pod was left behind. Not a single crew member abandoned. They value their people above their ships, Thalos murmured. Foolish, Velny said, but his voice lacked conviction. On the opposite flank, human fighters engaged the Devourer swarm. Lieutenant Park led her squadron in attacks that defied belief. The small craft wove through debris fields and weapons fire, using destroyed ships as cover, emerging to strike at vulnerable points before vanishing again. Valkyrie, lead to all wings, Park's voice crackled over the comms. Target the big one, neural cluster at bearing 270. I will paint the target. You bring the thunder. The fighters coordinated without need for extended discussion. They had trained together, fought together, trusted each other absolutely. 12 small craft against a Devourer command ship the size of a city. The aliens expected them to die heroically and accomplish nothing. Instead, they watched as the fighters penetrated the enemy point defense through sheer skill and audacity, as Park's missiles marked the exact weak point in the armor, as the following wings poured fire into the breach. The command ship broke apart, secondary explosions rippling through its hull. Scratch 1 neural cluster, Park reported, requesting target priority for next pass. The Devourers adapted, as they always did. Suicide waves surged toward the human ships, bioengineered kamikaze organisms willing to die if they could take an enemy with them. Hundreds of contacts swarmed each human vessel. Point defense free, Foster ordered. What followed looked like a solid wall of light. Every human ship bristled with close-in weapon systems, rapid-fire cannons that tracked and eliminated incoming threats with computer precision. The suicide swarm died before it could close range, thousands of organisms reduced to debris. But the Devourers learned. They sent more, always more. Their numerical advantage was crushing. For every enemy destroyed, 2 more took its place. Admiral, we are at 40% ammunition on primary systems, Chen reported. Sustained fire is depleting magazines faster than anticipated. Foster's response was immediate. All ships, protocol hammer, synchronized alpha strike on my mark. The human fleet stopped firing. For 5 seconds, an eternity in combat, they went silent. The Devourers surged forward, sensing weakness. Then every human weapon fired simultaneously. The concentrated barrage tore through the Devourer formation like a blade through flesh. Targeting systems that had been tracking and calculating for those 5 seconds unleashed devastation with perfect coordination. Chain reactions cascaded through the enemy fleet. Ships collided with debris. Others fled directly into human firing solutions. The formation collapsed into chaos. "Now," Foster ordered, "Galactic forces advance. They are disorganized. Press the advantage." For a moment, the alien ships hesitated. Then Captain North, commander of the avian carrier Pride of Skylance, spoke. "All wings with me. Formation on the human vessels. Let us show them we can fight." The galactic fleet surged forward, finding courage in the human example. Together, the combined force drove into the Devourer ranks, human firepower and galactic numbers working in concert for the first time. Thalos felt something unfamiliar in his chest. Hope. Real hope, not the desperate kind that preceded extinction, but genuine belief in victory. The Devourers began to retreat, their hive mind calculating odds and finding them unacceptable. For the first time in their expansion campaign, they fled. "Let them go," Foster ordered. "We want survivors to carry the message. Humanity has returned to the stars, and we do not tolerate genocide." The battle ended. Archon 7 survived. The cost was steep. The Vigilant would never fight again. 17 human crew members dead, 43 wounded. But the galactic casualties were a fraction of what they would have been without intervention. Foster visited the medical bay personally, speaking to each wounded soldier, knowing their names, their stories. Thalos watched through security feeds and understood these were not mindless warriors. These were people who chose to fight, who knew the cost, who paid it anyway. In the aftermath, as repair crews worked and memorials were planned, Rilna brought Thalos the analysis from the destroyed Devourer ships. "Council leader, you need to see this." The data was clear and terrifying. Archon 7 had been a preliminary target. The main Devourer fleet, numbering in the thousands, was assembling 3 weeks away. This had been the scouting force. Thalos felt his hope waver, but then he looked at the human ships, battered but unbroken, already beginning repairs. The myths had saved them once. Perhaps the myths could save them again. The combined fleet traveled through hyperspace toward the Devourer staging grounds, 130 vessels representing the largest unified military operation in galactic history. Admiral Foster insisted on constant drills during the journey, running the alien crews through combat exercises until they moved with something approaching human efficiency. "Again," Commander Hughes called out during a simulated engagement, "your response time is improving but still too slow. When the enemy shoots at you, you do not have time to request permission to return fire." The galactic officers were exhausted, frustrated, and slowly becoming competent. Foster watched them adapt, learning to think like warriors instead of bureaucrats. She felt a flicker of pride. Given time, these species could become formidable. But time was something they did not have. Rilna arrived on the Defiance Bridge carrying data tablets filled with ancient records. "Admiral, you need to see what I found." The archives described the first contact war 800 cycles ago. Devourers had attacked a human colony world called New Horizon, 40,000 civilians dead in the initial strike. The human response had been immediate and absolute. "Total strategic elimination," Foster read aloud. 3 Devourer hive worlds sterilized, bioweapon deployment, no survivors, war duration 6 weeks. She looked at Rilna. "We did this." "Your ancestors did," Rilna confirmed. "The Devourers fled beyond known space. The galactic civilizations marked the Sol system as forbidden, fearing humanity would turn on them next." Foster felt the weight of history. Her species had committed genocide to avenge 40,000. Now she commanded a fleet to prevent genocide against. Billions, humanity had learned restraint in the centuries since, but the capacity for absolute warfare still existed in their genetic code. "We are not those humans," she said quietly. "We fight to protect, not to punish." "I know," Rilna replied. "That is why I trust you." The fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Devourer territory. Sensor readings immediately confirmed their worst fears. 15,000 enemy vessels, multiple Hive Mother ships, and construction facilities churning out new warriors at an exponential rate. Fleet Admiral recommend immediate withdrawal, Velnese transmitted. We are outnumbered more than 100 to 1. This is suicide. Foster studied the tactical display. Hughes had identified the command structure, a central coordination node aboard the largest Hive Mother. Without it, the Devourers would lose cohesion. With it, they would coordinate perfectly and overwhelm through sheer numbers. We committed to this operation, Foster replied. Surprise is our only advantage. We do not get a second chance. She outlined the plan. The fleet would punch through the defensive perimeter while human Marines infiltrated the Hive Mother and destroyed the coordination node. High risk, minimal margin for error, certain casualties. I volunteer for the ground assault, a voice said. Foster turned to see Galactic Liaison Officer Vren, an insectoid species who had spent weeks training with human Marines. You do not have to do this. Yes, I do, Vren replied. My colony was first to fall. I must strike back. Your Sergeant Davis says I am ready. Foster nodded. Courage was courage, regardless of species. The assault began with human ships forming a spear tip, driving into the Devourer defensive line with maximum acceleration. The Defiant's armor glowed red from repeated impacts, shields fluctuating as they absorbed punishment that would have vaporized galactic vessels. Breach achieved, Okoye reported. Galactic heavy cruisers advancing through the gap. Behind them, the alien fleet followed, pouring fire into the opening the humans had created. Captain North's carrier launched fighters that coordinated with human squadrons, learning and adapting in real-time combat. But the Devourers reacted. Reinforcements surged from deeper staging areas. The human destroyer Ranger took catastrophic damage, its reactor going critical. All crew to escape pods, the Rangers. Captain ordered, abandon ship. The destroyer exploded, but every pod survived. Human search and rescue craft risked enemy fire to recover their people. The galactic crews watched and learned. Personnel were more valuable than equipment. Lives mattered more than ships. Amid the chaos, human dropships launched toward the Hive Mother. Sergeant Davis led 20 Marines and 5 galactic volunteers into the hostile vessel's interior. The boarding pods punched through bioorganic armor, depositing the team in darkness. Lights on, Davis ordered. Stay tight, watch your corners. The corridors pulsed with alien biology, walls that breathed and floors that shifted. The galactic volunteers struggled until human Marines shared environmental suits. Together, they pushed deeper. Devourer warriors emerged from the walls, bioengineered killing machines designed for close combat. The firefight was brutal and immediate. Human weapons roared in the confined space, tungsten rounds tearing through chitin and flesh. Left flank, Vren called out, his translator rendering urgency perfectly. 3 contacts. Davis pivoted, his rifle tracking smoothly. Good eyes, stay behind me. They fought through layers of defenders, the team moving with practiced coordination. Humans covered galactic volunteers. Volunteers spotted threats the humans missed. They became a unified force through shared danger. Lieutenant Park's voice crackled over fleet comms. Squadron taking heavy casualties. We need support. Foster made the hard call. Hold position. We cannot divert resources. You know what is at stake. Understood, Park replied. We will hold. 3 of her pilots died in the next 5 minutes. She kept fighting. Inside the Hive Mother, Davis's team reached the coordination node chamber. The organic computer pulsed with bioluminescence, defended by elite warriors twice the size of standard Devourers. Plant the charges, Davis ordered. I will hold them. The team laid down suppressing fire while Davis moved forward with explosives. A Devourer lunged. Vren intercepted, taking the strike meant for the sergeant. Icor sprayed. The galactic volunteer fell. Vren, Davis caught him. Complete the mission, Vren whispered. Make my world's death mean something. Davis placed the charges, armed them. 30 seconds to detonation. The team retreated, carrying their wounded. But Devourer reinforcements flooded the corridor. Too many, too fast. Go, Davis ordered. Get them out, I will buy you time. Sergeant, someone protested. That is an order. Davis stood alone, facing the swarm. Tell Foster this was worth it. The team evacuated. Davis fired until his ammunition ran dry, then used the rifle as a club. The Devourers swarmed him. The charges detonated. The Hive Mother's coordination node exploded in a cascade of bioorganic destruction, severing the Hivemind's control across 15,000 vessels. Devourer ships immediately lost cohesion, firing randomly, colliding with each other, falling into complete disarray. All ships full offensive, Foster's voice cut through the chaos. They are blind, make them pay. The human fleet surged forward, joined by galactic forces who fought with newfound ferocity. Captain North's carrier coordinated strikes with precision that would have seemed impossible weeks ago. They had learned from their human allies. They had become warriors. Lieutenant Park's depleted squadron hunted fleeing Devourer commanders, ensuring none escaped to rebuild. Her voice was steady despite losing half her pilots. Valkyrie lead confirms targets eliminated, requesting new assignments. But Foster felt the hollow victory. They had won, but the cost was written in the casualty reports scrolling across her display. 143 dead, hundreds wounded. The destroyer Ranger gone. Sergeant Davis listed as killed in action. Admiral search teams report wreckage from the Hive Mother, Chen said. They are requesting permission to continue recovery operations. Denied, Velnys interjected. The structure is unstable. We cannot risk more lives for the dead. You can deny all you want, Commander, a galactic voice cut in. This is Vren. I am alive barely, and I am not leaving without Davis. Foster overrode the channel. Vren, your wounds are irrelevant, Admiral. The sergeant stayed behind so we could escape. We do not abandon those who saved us. Is that not what you taught us? The search took 3 hours. Galactic volunteers, inspired by human sacrifice, combed through the wreckage. They found Davis alive, his armor breached, his body broken, but his vital signs steady. Did we get it? Were his first words when they pulled him free. The medical bay erupted in celebration. Foster arrived to find human and alien crew members together. The species barrier dissolved. In shared relief, Davis tried to salute from his medical bed. She stopped him. You did good, Sergeant. Rest now. Vren, Davis asked. Here, the galactic volunteer approached. You saved my life. I returned the favor. We are even. Davis smiled. No, we are friends. There is a difference. In the aftermath, intelligence officers analyzed captured Devourer biocomputers. The data revealed expansion plans across entire galactic sectors, hundreds of civilizations targeted, billions marked for consumption. The humans had not just saved the Galactic Alliance, they had prevented an extinction event. The Galactic Council convened in emergency session. Debate raged about human membership. Some species feared humanity's military power, others argued for alliance. Thalos stood before the assembly. I have watched humans fight. I have seen their weapons, their tactics, their capacity for destruction. Yes, they are dangerous, but I have also seen them weep for their fallen. I have watched them risk everything to save strangers. I have witnessed them teach rather than conquer. They are warriors, but they are also guardians. We need both. Captain North spoke. I fought beside human pilots. They taught me courage I did not know I possessed. They showed me that strength serves best when protecting the weak. I vote for alliance. Rilna presented historical evidence. Every record shows humans respond to threats against the innocent. They do not initiate conquest. They respond to aggression. Give them reason to protect you, and they will die to do so. Give them reason to fight you, and you will understand why the Devourers ran. The vote passed. Humanity was offered full membership in the Galactic Council with military command integration. Foster accepted on behalf of Earth. We will stand with you against any threat. We will teach you to defend yourselves. We will fight when necessary and work for peace when possible. That is our promise. Years passed, human galactic cooperation flourished. Joint military academies trained mixed-species crews. Cultural exchange programs promoted understanding. Human farmers worked alongside alien engineers. Mixed colonies became symbols of unity. Davis recovered and became chief instructor for galactic ground forces. Pain is temporary, defeat is forever. Now drop and give me 20, became a phrase translated into 40 languages. Lieutenant Park commanded the first integrated carrier group, human and alien pilots flying in perfect coordination. We are all Valkyries now, she told her squadron. Admiral Foster was promoted to Supreme Fleet Commander. She built a navy from dozens of species, each contributing their strengths, learning from their differences. New threats emerged: pirates raiding trade routes, rogue artificial intelligence, spatial anomalies. Each time the combined fleet responded, and each time they won. But the greatest victory was peace. Galactic civilization thrived. Species that had feared each other learned cooperation. Worlds that had been isolated found community. On Archon 7, a monument was erected. Names of all who fell in the first battle, human and alien together. At the base, an inscription in every galactic language. They believed humans were myths. We proved we were hope. Foster stood before it during the dedication ceremony. Beside her, Thalos in his council robes, Norith in his carrier captain uniform, Rilna with her archival tablets, Davis on crutches, refusing to stay in bed. Vren beside him, mandibles clicking in what humans had learned was laughter. "Do you ever regret it?" Thalos asked. "Coming when we called, losing your people in our war?" Foster watched children of a dozen species play in the monument's shadow. Human kids teaching alien friends to throw a ball. Alien younglings showing humans how to navigate four-dimensional puzzles. The future growing together. "No," she said. "We were alone in the universe for so long. We fought ourselves because we had no one else to fight for. You gave us purpose. You gave us family. You gave us a reason to be the best version of humanity." A distress call arrived from a distant system. Pirates attacking a colony. Foster smiled. "All commanders to your ships. Someone needs our help." The fleet launched together. Humans and aliens, warriors and guardians, myths made real. Across the stars, when darkness came, civilizations no longer faced it alone. They called for humanity, and humanity answered.